Hello and welcome to Awesome Hardware episode 171, Side B. If you missed Side A, you can check it out on Paul's channel, Paul's Hardware, or youtube.com/Paul's Hardware, or you can find the link in my video description. This is a tech news live show thing that Paul and I stream every single Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, right here on twitch.tv/awesomehardware, or our respective YouTube channels, which, as I sort of already alluded to, is broken up into two halves. So, Kyle made the news lol. I just see Sal is like typing something in our Google Doc.
I'm excited if you're on the news.
With a bit.ly link that I'm afraid to click on.
Click on the link.
No, what? You click on it. Maybe you should click on it.
Should I show it?
Sure. Can you?
I mean, I could. Hold on.
What even is it?
What's going on? Wait.
It just looks like. Is that just a link to our stream? Anyway, you continue doing that. Paul and I.
Oh, hey, here we go.
Walmart
it's
pulls.
A TechSpot article.
Oh.
Walmart pulls its overpowered gaming desktop PCs from the sale following quality concerns. We've already proven this false, though. We proved this false on my half of the show.
But maybe not entirely, because it is now updated with a newer price.
Okay. Well, they did lower the... Oh, wow.
Well, hello.
Embedded right there, Kyle's video.
Hey, take that, Gamers Nexus's 2.6 million view video.
Yeah. TechSpot
who's on the TechSpot article?
Wait, who wrote this TechSpot article?
Mad Games, bro.
Did. What's up, Cohen? Thanks for the article.
Yes.
Thanks for featuring Kyle. So
appreciate it.
We're getting immediately distracted. Wait.
What this means is we need a breaking news ticker at the bottom of our...
Breaking. Breaking news. Finally change all the returns.
So when stuff like this comes in, we are ready. We are ready for the taking. But yeah, we're
wait, before we dive into that.
Sure.
We drink beer on the show occasionally because... word of warning. And
you should buy stuff from our stores.
Yes, buy stuff from our stores.
I have a new blaster design for mouse mats and hoodies, and we have the new awesome hardware design that was fan made.
It's glorious.
It's so cool. I like it. I'm gonna buy one for myself actually.
I like.
You can buy 2 mugs and do a double blaster.
Yeah.
Look at that. Who doesn't want that?
It's great.
Paul's store. By the way, mine is Bitwit.tech.
Bitwit.tech.
And then yours is paulshardware.net.
For me.
He also sells some amazing things.
Olive green.
Same quality.
Classic thumbscrew logo and olive green now available.
Olive green, baby.
Both of our stores right now have holiday sales.
Yes.
If you're buying for your loved ones for the holidays, 10% off orders over 50, 20% off orders over 100 on both of our stores. And if you happen to buy awesome hardware stuff, don't worry because we split the profits for those, so that's really cool.
That is true.
Also, shout out to our store manager, John. He's awesome, and we love him.
We love him. Also, shout out to Cell, who's our good friend and moderator in chat.
Yay, Cell.
Be nice to him, or he will ban you. And we give him full authority to do so.
Yes.
Also, we have a charity live stream.
Charity live stream.
Charity live stream, oh my god! December 8th. That's this Saturday.
That's in 4 days.
4 days.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. We're going to be doing a 12-hour charity live stream, Paul and I.
My God.
We're just going to be gaming for 12 hours straight, raising as much money as freaking possible for some kids in need. I think last year we raised over $13,000.
It was amazing.
It's kind of crazy. Like, we could raise that much money for actually sick people by playing video games.
Well, it
blows my mind.
The only reason we can do that is because of the generosity of the viewers at home, of course.
Why, of course. And the only way that you could help us in any way is to tune in. On December 8th.
And to give you guys a bit of an incentive, a little bit of extra, possible reason to kick in, we're going to have actually 3 computers that we'll be giving away. 3.
Are you giving away 2?
I'm not giving away 2. I'm giving away 1.
So am I.
But the second one was from NB67.
Ah, that's right.
Remember that?
Yes, right. yes. That is right.
So we had a fan meetup this past weekend. NB67, aka Lenticular.
Yep.
We interact with him during the show and on all the time. His name's Mike. He's from San Diego. He sent me a mini computer and a DAN case. I haven't picked it up yet. It's in my PO box. But we're going to be giving away that system.
That's one sexy case.
We're going to be giving away a system that I built yesterday, and then we're going to be giving away a system that Kyle built. You already built it?
Nope.
You're building.
I will be giving away the DTW1 Walmart
Oh, Cal's
PC,
giving away the Walmart PC.
albeit a modified one, customized by myself to make it infinitely better with a revamped motherboard and some other really nifty tweaks that I'll have a video out.
I see it right over
I'll
there.
have a video out on that very soon.
That's glorious.
Before the stream. Yeah.
Excellent.
It's a good PC now.
So many reasons to join us and watch and also enter those giveaways coming up on Saturday. And thanks to all of you guys who do that.
December 8th.
Yeah.
December 8th. We will be streaming.
We'll stream to Awesome Hardware right here where you're watching this. And you'll probably be able to watch both streams there. And then we're also going to be individually streaming as Cal and I play on our individual Twitch channels too.
Right.
My Twitch channel's Paul's Hardware.
Mine's Bitwit Kai, K-Y.
Okay.
Because someone else took Bitwit Kyle. Screw them.
But we'll have links to all that stuff.
And then he means, hello. Hi,
We're not streaming to YouTube.
We're not streaming to YouTube.
Yes, we are.
She's lying.
She's lying.
I saw some other people saying rip
There are
YouTube
0
in chat.
dropped frames.
Maybe she's lying.
She's lying.
She's a liar. Wifey Sash, you're such a liar.
Why did my computer turn off?
Yeah, I mean, people are still commenting in chat and stuff, so.
Is my laptop not plugged? What, my laptop actually
What
shut
the
down.
hell? Did you just restart?
Is that extension cord I plugged into not actually plugged
That
into?
makes me really think that I should have another beer.
Oh, yeah. What do you want? We got a Fat Tire or Sam Adams winter variety.
I'll take a fat tire. Sure, why not? All right. Yeah. Come out to the stream. We'd love to see you there. And there's going to be hella prizes, yo. For the children! All right, let's move on. Our first story here is from Nvidia themselves, straight from the horse's mouth, about a new Battlefield 5 update and GeForce Driver that is going to improve DXR ray tracing performance by up to 50%. This has been all over the place on the web this morning.
It's a Windows update. That's
Oh,
why I
jeez.
shut down.
Microsoft is always listening.
Thanks, computer. I wasn't using you right now or anything.
At least it wasn't the streaming system. Jeez.
Yeah, that's good.
So today, that actually launched today, December 4th.
Does it work? Has it been tested?
I don't know. I don't know about that. But the Battlefield 5 Tides of War Chapter 1 Overture update brings new single-player war story and a new multiplayer map and a bunch of other stuff. But mainly, it includes the DXR ray tracing optimizations that improve performance up to 50%, which also suggests that RTX gamers can now enjoy ray tracing at over 60 FPS, regardless of which GPU that you're using. Now, they have a fun video here with Jiho Choi, which is a dev tech engineer from Nvidia, and Yesing Uladog, which is a rendering engineer from DICE. Yasin Uladog from DICE, and they talk about the various optimizations that they've made with drivers and the game itself to bring higher performance, to bring improved performance for people who are using ray tracing, who have this feature enabled. So it's actually kind of interesting. They're saying that RTX 2080 Ti users will see a 60 FPS performance. They'll be able to yield about 60 FPS or higher at 2560 by 1440 with DXR ray tracing reflections set to ultra, which is actually pretty sweet. Before, I feel like they were probably hovering around 30 or 40 FPS, so that's actually a massive uplift. RTX 2080 users will be able to get 60 FPS and over with a 1440p resolution using medium DXR ray traced reflections. So I'm sure that's not too far off. And then RTX 2070 users will be able to see 60 FPS, albeit at 1920 by 1080. So you have to dump down your resolution a little bit, and that'll be with medium DXR ray traced reflections. So at any rate, you can see 60 FPS with medium or higher ray tracing. So that's actually not too bad. The video features that these guys are talking about.
This is the other end of the extension cord that you had me plug my laptop into.
Oh, and that was not plugged in to anything. Okay. How long is it? And could it reach over there?
I'm unplugging your laptop.
Okay, yeah. Mine's fine. I have a Blade Pro, so I have at least 5 minutes of battery power. I should actually be fine for the rest of the stream. I'm gonna turn the brightness down a little bit. So we can just like plug in every 10 minutes. We'll just keep siphoning power.
This is plugged in. I'm afraid to just unplug something randomly.
Oh wait, are people still saying unlisted because my video is still unlisted?
Oh, your video's unlisted.
Not anymore.
Well, there's your
Suckers.
problem.
All right, it is now not unlisted. I'm a dumbass who sometimes enlists my videos. Thank you very much. I mean, this was such a problem in YouTube chat that it carried over to Twitch chat. It's fun. It's nice. It's nice to see how one platform can help the other, get our attention. And I feel like, you know.
Jesus Christ, dude, you're drunk.
Jesus Christ, go home, you're drunk. Well, you know what? Soon enough, I will be streaming from my home.
Cell,
and you won't be able to say
Cell's
that.
pissed off.
About effing time.
I'm mad as well, Cell. I'm as mad as you are.
You just found out about this the same time I did.
That's why I'm so mad.
And yet, the rage settled in so quickly.
And yet, somehow I'm able to compose myself.
Ah!
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, okay, sure. All right, sorry about that, guys. You know, it's awesome hardware. You expect absolute belligerence to take over any sort of reasonable functionality of the stream at any moment, so thank you very much for understanding. But hey, you know what? Some pretty cool uplift here that we're seeing with the DICE update, the Battlefield 5 update, and some GeForce drivers. They've managed to increase performance in this way without sacrificing quality by a number of ways. Shader optimization. They're also implementing variable ray tracing, so they're only creating or only placing rays where they matter. So maybe when you're looking at a specific scene or when you're looking at a specific part of a scene, those rays will be rendered a lot more than the surrounding rays. It kind of reminds me of what's the actual term for VR when they're only rendering the actual part that you're looking at?
Ghostbusters?
It's not Ghostbusters. Something similar to that, though.
So whenever people say ray tracing, I think of Ray from Ghostbusters.
It's very, I'm sure that everyone thinks that too. You're probably not the only one.
Or like,
it's just
Go Ray.
Go Ray.
Egon. No?
Yep. No.
Sorry.
Totally the same.
Ghostbusters.
I got you. So, you know, they found some optimizations. They've removed a bug apparently that was tanking performance during environment destruction. So anytime a building would blow up, you just frame rate would tank. That was due to a bug apparently that they have since removed. Foliage and grass has been optimized and that sort of thing. So, yay. And I think this goes to show that ray tracing is still so early on. It's still very much in its infancy. There's going to be a lot of optimizations that will need to happen in the near future that will hopefully uplift performance continually. And I don't think this is the last time we're going to see ray tracing get some serious gains in the performance field. Yeah, it's really early. Developers don't even know what to do with this technology yet. And so I feel like the longer that it's here, the better that games will be optimized for it, and eventually we can see performance actually get to more mainstream-friendly levels. Because right now, even if you have an RTX 2070, for example, you're not really going to be able to take advantage of ray tracing unless they really optimize the hell out of it, which it looks like they're beginning to. So it's an early technology. I think it's also a technology that Nvidia was very quick to get out the door, to be the first ones there, and to say, hey, we have this cool thing that the competition doesn't. And there are certain pros and cons to that. The pro is that you are the first on the scene. The con is that you may not have optimized it fully to the best of its capacity or best of its ability at that moment. So I feel like obviously the market is very impatient when you're advertising, when your whole product stack is banking on a single feature like ray tracing, as very much was demonstrated by the Nvidia press conference. People expect it to work just like it's been here for years, like it's been here for a decade, and that it's fully optimized, and it's not. That's the fact that it's not, and that's not the consumer's fault for thinking that way. In fact, it's really Nvidia who should be able to bring a full product to market that operates exactly as intended, the way that they've advertised it to, and I think it's just going to take some time.
So what do you say to those who would say that they're patching the game and getting a 50% in performance improvement, that would clearly indicate that they were premature in their promotion and publication of ray tracing in general, because obviously it wasn't ready. If they're able to get this much performance improvement just a few weeks after like a week or two after the launch of the Windows update that even enabled you to turn on ray tracing in general in the game, then, I mean, from my perspective, I might say, well, I think they could have gotten a much more positive response from the community with this if they hadn't changed from GTX to RTX because of ray tracing. If they hadn't said ray tracing, it just works, and all the stuff that Jensen said. If they had sort of eased off on that a little bit and said, like, here's our next generation graphics processor, here's the performance improvements we're expecting in the more fundamental areas of frame rate improvements that people would expect. And by the way, it's also got this ray tracing feature. It's not ready for the mainstream yet, but it's there for developers to work with and make games. And maybe as time progresses, we'll see a lot of cool games that implement this for a more realistic experience.
Yeah.
If they had done that, rather than be ray tracing RTX, ray tracing.
Are you proposing that Nvidia be honest and tell it how it is?
I'm just saying.
What a preposterous pitch, Paul.
And we talked a little bit about on my half of the show, but like I don't know if anyone from Nvidia watches this show, maybe from time to time, but like
I totally agree.
Positioning and messaging is very important for stuff like this. And I am definitely one who would say that I think ray tracing is good. I think ray tracing is definitely something that when you look at the future of video games will be implemented more widely and lead to a more immersive experience and more realistic rendering of, a virtual 3D environment.
Absolutely.
But obviously right now, and I just tested this the other day, if you're playing with a $1,200 RTX 2080 Ti and getting 70 or 80 frames per second in Battlefield 5 at 4K, and then you turn on ray tracing, and suddenly your frame rate drops to 20 to 25 frames per second, and it's a choppy mess that you can't even legitimately play, you're like, well, this feature that I was sold on, that was pitched so much, I'm not really feeling right now. So you get disappointed. So I think the way that's set up and the way it's sold to people will affect their response to it when they actually try it. And I think that was tempered somewhat. Then Nvidia wouldn't be dealing with this whole like the RTX on, RTX off meme and everything. So.
And raw performance is good enough for most gamers. Let's be honest. You don't need fancy new technologies for most gamers. Most gamers just want higher FPS. They want smoother frame rates. They want to rock a 165 hertz monitor, at 1440p. Nvidia could have just come out with that right out the gate, and like you said, just said, we have this ray tracing thing. It's kind of cool. It's not fully developed yet, and whatever, but it's coming, and these cards are going to be able to support it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, isn't performance the only thing that Nvidia really needs to prove themselves over AMD? Like, AMD doesn't even compete in the high-end space right now. Why did Nvidia have to harp so hardly on ray tracing when the performance isn't even there from the competition? What was the point? That they're getting ahead of themselves a little bit, maybe getting a little cocky, maybe trying to up the prices of their cards a little bit more and trying to find, we can't sell these cards for, these cards are faster, but we can't sell them for the insane prices we want unless we add something more than just performance. Let's add ray tracing to the mix and say that it's way more equipped and way more ready than it really is. So, they got a little greedy there, but I completely agree with you, Paul. It is quite a situation that people are, it's unfolding in its own way. But the good thing is that if you bought an RTX card, not all is lost. Optimizations are coming, they're here, and they're going to continue. This is just sort of tip of the iceberg. There's going to be further improvements and further optimizations for ray tracing and things like that, DXR, that you will start to feel a bit more of your money's worth, I think, as time goes on.
And I was also going to say just that the market has spoken to some degree when it comes to Nvidia, and I would say this is a combination of things, both the reaction and response to the RTX launch, but also their sort of miscalculation was speculating with the future of the GPU mining market, and the reason they're having to take a lot of losses right now for that.
Yeah.
And this was last month in the middle of November that Nvidia's stock took a big old dip. It's recovered somewhat since then, but it's still definitely nowhere near what it was. So you know, I have to imagine that internally that they are reflecting on their decisions of the past year and maybe figuring out what they could, I don't know, do different or whatever. But
yeah, it's a harsh time of the year to drop your stock that dramatically too, right into the holidays. But let's move on. We have a lot more to talk about here. We have an article from Just Buy It, Tom's Hardware, talking about a Athlon 200 GE overclocked to 3.9 gigahertz by them with the new MSI BIOS.
Hey.
This is insane. This is YouTuber Tech Epiphany initially posted a video on Thursday showing that he had overclocked an Athlon 200G. $55. This is a $55 locked multiplier GPU. It's a dual-core CPU. It has a locked multiplier, but yet this YouTuber uploaded a video saying he overclocked it to 3.8. How? How did he manage to do that? Well, it was an MSI BIOS that had apparently upgraded, or apparently supports the AGESA 1.0.0.6 firmware that inadvertently unlocked the chip's multiplier. So this is not an official support of overclocking from MSI. MSI has since released a statement saying, we do not officially support overclocking on the Athlon 200 GE. It just so happens that this BIOS update unlocked the multiplier, and now enthusiasts can go in and tweak it. So that's actually kind of cool. You get some free performance there. It remains to be seen whether or not this new freedom will continue to exist, or if a future BIOS update will sort of can it or whatever, but you could always revert back to that BIOS update and overclock the hell out of it if you wanted to. So it's kind of interesting. Tom's Hardware found that when overclocked, the 200 GE performance improves its standing amongst other Intel competitors, more so in single-threaded performance than multi-threaded, because it is only limited to 2 cores and 4 threads.
Dual-core, 4-thread processor.
Yeah, 2-core, dual-core, 4 threads. So more so on the single-threaded gains, less on the multi-threaded performance. But it still is able to sort of compete with some CPUs on the Intel side that it otherwise would get beaten out by. So that's kind of cool. It specifically had some high marks in photo editing, video conferencing, and video editing within the PC Mark X benchmark. So that was actually kind of cool. It beat out some Intel competitors there. It still trails behind elsewhere in other tests and stuff. There were no gaming tests, interestingly enough, in this Tom's Hardware article. I would imagine that you might get a few FPS gain from such an overclock. How could you not? However, I don't think it would be enough to beat out some of the more expensive, some of the more pricey Intel CPUs, just because Intel architecture at the moment is just a bit faster for gaming, more higher instructions per clock and that sort of thing. But it's interesting that this is we haven't really talked much about the Athlon 200G. It is currently the only non-overclockable Zen-based model from AMD. So it's actually, every other SKU that's Zen based is overclockable, except for this one, I guess, until now, if you have that BIOS update. So that's kind of interesting. It doesn't even have, it's a very basic chip as well. It doesn't even have support for things like precision boost. So instead of gathering, what kind of temperatures and power limitations your CPU is at, it'll just run it at a static 3.2 gigahertz frequency. So it doesn't even have precision boost and things like that. The fact that you can overclock this thing now to 3.9 gigahertz, potentially even further if you had some exotic liquid cooling solution or whatever, is actually kind of cool and could maybe give you a bit more value to a rather cheap CPU.
So I when I spotted this in the past few days, I was initially kind of like, oh, that's really cool. If there's a $55 processor that you can do a few tweaks to. This reminds me a little bit of some of the early Skylake stuff and some of the B-clock unlocked BIOSes that you could do with that. But there's some definite caveats and limitations to this particular thing. I mean, if you're on a serious budget and you're really limited and $55 for a CPU makes a lot of sense to you, then you can consider it. But you have to bear in mind you cannot overclock the memory with this, so you're stuck with 2666 memory. And we all know, or probably know, that faster memory with Ryzen is very helpful for the overall performance. and then you're basically stuck with these MSI BIOS releases. They did a BIOS release for pretty much their entire motherboard lineup, I believe, for both 300 series and 400 series motherboards that enables this. However, it means that if you want this, you're going to have to use that BIOS. And so that means that any future updates, any future AGESA updates that AMD launches, you're not going to be able to get. Or if you do that, then you'll
lose the
forego
ability.
the overclocking ability that you had. So
right.
It's kind of cool, but it's pretty niche. If the memory thing wasn't an issue, or if like MSI was saying, yeah, we're just gonna leave it this way now, then that would be a little bit more interesting to me. But yeah, I mean, for someone who's looking to dig in there and do some tweaks and only wants to spend $55 on a processor, then there you go.
It's going to breathe new life into your chip.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got an article from Overclock 3D about Silverstone's the world's smallest kilowatt class PSUs, the Strider Platinum PTS.
Nice.
This is actually pretty impressive. 1,000 watt and 1,200 watt units are now available in 140 millimeter long ATX form factor. Do you realize, like, at first I thought these were SFX power supplies. They are not. They are ATX power supplies, but a mere 140 millimeters long. That's a very small power supply, commonly found with like 650 watt to 750 watt units, but with kilowatt level performance, guys. 1,000 watt and a 1,200 watt model.
Damn it, Silverstone.
That is just insane to me.
I'm angry.
Why? Did you just do a build that could have?
Why are all
the blue ports?
Why are all the PCI Express graphics power plugs still all blue?
It's fine. We have power supplies shrouds. We have PSU shrouds. We have basements. It's 2018, Paul.
So
it should be fine in most cases.
I used the Silverstone Strider Platinum Series power supply on my wife's mini ITX system.
Yeah.
And I had to physically go in here and like modify this
Spray paint them and stuff.
to like color it to try to like be it so that blue doesn't stand out.
The blue is quite annoying.
It's not like they're saving money by doing this. There's plenty of blue peg connectors like that they could swap in there. Just damn it, Silverstone. It's just frustrating. It doesn't need to be like that. Just make it all black. It's a power supply.
I agree.
I would have zero caveats about this entire thing, but like, damn it, if you're building and like specifically in a situation where like I need a really short power supply, there's probably a higher chance that you're building something where you're space limited and maybe you're doing water cooling or something like that.
Sure.
And you're concerned about aesthetics and you don't want some random ass blue shit in there.
Yeah. Yep.
Messing up your entire thing. So
that's true.
I love this power supply.
That is true.
I'm amazed that they're able to fit 1,200 watts into this thing, but get rid of that blue. Okay, sorry.
I like how they've managed just like this industry first achievement, and you're like, fuck that blue though.
Yeah.
I discredit everything
there's
you've done.
There's a few people building like a smaller system with a really cool water cooling loop who's like, oh, I'm doing black, white, and blue. Or like blue is part of my theme. That'll match.
Sure.
But I mean, for anyone else, like that.
It's not even a blue that really matches anything either.
Yeah.
It's not like Corsair blue. It's not. If it was like a Corsair blue, because Corsair has like in their Vengeance line sometimes they'll have that blue, lighter blue. It's kind of like a baby blue. It doesn't even match it with anything. It really doesn't. But you know what? I would hope that if you have 1,000 watt PSU, that you're probably plugging in a bunch of stuff, you're connecting a bunch of peripherals and things like that, and that hopefully the other cables around those ports would sort of mask those hideous ports a little bit.
But if
the
fan is here and the fan is facing down, then this would be the most visible connector on your power supply.
That would be the first thing.
Just saying.
But also, if you have 1,000 watt PSU, why are you buying a case without a PSU shroud?
All right, let's
move
on.
Let's just continue.
We've said everything there is to say.
All right, PC Gamer has been talking about the Steam bug that recently cut some indie developers' revenue in half, which is kind of a big deal. If this is how you make a living, this is your life, this is your job, you make a living selling video games that you develop, this is a huge deal, people. Many developers have been claiming that in October, there was a bug that allegedly crawled into Steam's discovery feature, causing it to recommend only large, popular games instead of more relevant games. That's an issue. Indie developers took to Twitter, actually, posting graphs like the ones that Paul's showing up here, posting graphs featuring the units sold, which showed a dramatic drop right after the October bug was introduced. Developer Jake Burkett said that full price sales before and after the October bug have nearly halved, or they have in fact halved. Revenue has dipped further since their most expensive game has dropped to 36% of previous unit sales. A huge game, Kingdoms and Castles, huge indie game. Their designer, Peter Engstad, said that daily sales dipped by 30 to 40% when the bug appeared, and their sales still have not recovered. So whether or not this is a bug, things have seriously been a detriment to indie game Steam sale developers lately, and there has not been a solution. In fact, a lot of these developers have reached out to Steam personally and have received zero response. It seems like Steam is staying completely silent on the issue, and they are not issuing any sort of official statements. They're not replying to any developers' emails. There seems to be zero support whatsoever, zero voice coming from Steam. So
there also seems to be a significant amount of indie developers or lesser-known developers who are concerned about discoverability on Steam.
Absolutely. Who have not yet been established. How do you break into like such a saturated market when there's a bug that's preventing you from even being advertised to the masses or to anyone, to any Steam user, in fact, when it's really just the top 1% of game developers who have their games, front and center. It's really kind of broken right now. The developer thread on Steam right now is 55 pages long. There's this huge ongoing discussion about it. The issue's been going on for 2 months. Developers still don't even know if it is in fact a bug, maybe the after effects of a bug, or just a feature that's been designed to sort of shine a spotlight on different kinds of games. So at the very least, what they can all agree on is that Valve is not discussing the algorithm. They're being very tight-lipped about the whole thing, which reminds me a lot of YouTube. I felt like there was a moment there after the adpocalypse where I wasn't getting, like, our channel wasn't bringing in the same amount of ad revenue that it had been. I mean, and you notice, when you've been doing it for years and you see sort of a trend, like, okay, every month we make at least this much. Every month we're making at least this much. And then something happens and everyone's talking about it. Hey, there was this weird thing. And then you notice your ad revenue just tank by 30, 40, 50%. You're like, what the hell? I haven't been, my formula is the same. I haven't changed anything. I haven't tried to reinvent the wheel. But yet my revenue is down a significant amount, and it impacts your daily life. And then, I've tried reaching out to YouTube in the past. Hey, what's going on here? Is there anything that I'm doing wrong or that I could be doing better? And to not receive a response is just, it's the most sort of frustrating thing ever. You feel so helpless, and, what can you do? And these are people's livelihoods we're talking about. Paul and I make a living doing YouTube videos. These developers make a living selling video games on the biggest digital platform for games right now, which is Steam. And if there's a bug that's preventing them from getting their games seen by the masses, that is going to impact their daily lives to a huge degree. So it's quite unfortunate. But let's move on. Hopefully they figure that out. This is another article from PC Gamer about Epic Games, the Fortnite developer. Massive. I mean, Epic Games was already pretty huge, and now they're like...
Well, with Fortnite,
Oh my god. With Fortnite, it's just on a whole nother level. And I think maybe they've just gotten... Maybe it's gotten to their heads a little bit. They're trying to take on Steam now with their Epic Games Store. They're planning an Epic Games Store. How are they going to plan to beat Steam? How in the hell do you ever compete with Steam? They figured it out, seemingly.
Seduce the devs.
Seduce the devs, and also seduce the players. How do you seduce the players? By giving them free games. Give them free stuff. So in all of 2019, there will be a new game every 2 weeks that all players receive for free. It's all funded by Epic, and that's 2 games a month. That's 24 games that you will get for free for the year of 2019. That's pretty compelling. Again, depending on the games that you're getting, right? If there's some cheapo humble bundle $5 indie games that, well, shit, I wasn't even interested in that game. Or like, hey, it's like $2, whatever. Then that's something else. But if they're AAA games, if they're good games, they're highly reviewed games that people are interested in, they're all the hype, then, hey, that could be a really compelling offer that could bring a lot of people over to at least check it out, to at least give this new platform a chance, at the very least. So it's kind of compelling there. It's kind of interesting. For the developers, they also have some incentive to check out Epic Games Store, including a much higher split, much higher revenue split of 88% to 12%. So developers will keep 88%, and Epic will keep 12%. Do you know what the current split is for Steam?
No, what's that? What's the current split for Steam?
It is 70-30. So you only keep 70% as a developer right now on Steam.
That's 18% more.
Yes. Yes, it is. Sorry, my brain stopped
from
for a
60
second.
to 78.
Absolutely. And that's a pretty significant amount for a lot of people. Every dollar counts. We're just trying to make a buck these days, and I think that's a fair. It seems very fair to me.
Fair split.
A fair split, and I think that by appealing to the players as well as the developers, that is the only way that they're going to be able to take on Steam in any small, to any small degree.
That. And they need to make Half-Life 3, I think.
Once they make Half-Life 3, yes. Epic's Half-Life 3.
Half-Life 3 on Epic. That's really...
Half-Life 3 confirmed.
Somehow I think Gaben wouldn't allow that.
Or that he wouldn't mind because he's completely given up on it. Sniff, sniff. So there's also going to be a support a creator program, which sounds, I think this is the most interesting thing to me here. Their support a creator program aims to bring developers and marketers together. It's designed to reward influencers like Twitch streamers, cosplayers, YouTubers for making things that are related to developers' games. So if you're a Twitch streamer that, I don't know, or a cosplayer that made a Fallout helmet or something like that, then there would be a better way to connect you with that game developer so that you could get paid out potentially by the game developer, and that you as a creator would also be bringing traffic, your audience's traffic to the game itself. So that it's kind of this mutual thing going on, this sort of ecosystem of game developer meets creator meets viewer or consumer. It sounds interesting.
You know what I'd like to see, which I feel like there's sort of a window for here, although there's a middle step that I think is still in the ether. But like, if you take somebody who makes YouTube videos, or a Twitch streamer, or like even somebody who does cosplay or something like that,
sure.
and posts their stuff online, like they can get a following, and they can get an audience, and they can get people who will invest in them and who will donate or whatever to help support them because they like what they do. I don't see that with game developers.
Right.
And yet game developers often develop products as in video games that people use extensively,
right,
that I feel like people could easily devote that same level of
patronage.
Patronage to. So it'd be cool to see something like this taken to the extent where somebody could go and I wanna support my favorite game developer,
right, rather
than my favorite
Twitch
streamer, YouTuber, or something like that.
Why not? Why should they be excluded from the pot?
Especially for indie developers, I feel like that'd be really cool.
Totally.
Yeah.
So hopefully, if and that's a great point, is that if Epic Game Store can sort of integrate let's say a developer-based Patreon inside of their platform, that's something truly unique to that platform that Steam just doesn't have at all. That I feel like a lot of developers, up-and-coming developers, or even more established ones, might be attracted to that platform, tenfold because of a sort of an opportunity to capitalize on their work. So that's actually really interesting. But we'll have to keep a closer eye on this. There's some other details here, but whatever. They're not as important. Let's move on to the games report.
Okay.
And talk about
before that.
Oh yeah, sponsor spot.
Sponsor spot.
Sponsor spot.
Yay.
This sponsor spot is brought to you once again by Toshiba.
Toshiba.
We're gonna get flagged for that at some point. But hey, this is their OCZ RC100. with a BICS flash, which again is the SSD that was so compelling in the NVMe M.2 drive that I was so infatuated by that I had to take it out of the box and put it into my own personal system, which is why we have nothing here but an empty clamshell case. On the third day,
that's fine. Look,
the M.2 drive had risen.
Look, here's the product page for the RC100.
Yeah, see how tiny it is? Yeah. I actually kind of want to find a small, like a mini M.2 enclosure for it that supports that, just the maximum of that size.
So you could have a super tiny
external
M.2 external drive?
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. Just USB 3 it.
But yeah.
2242 is the form factor.
Look at this. We're giving more
Super
detailed
sexy.
specs on the RC100 than we ever have before. Read and write speeds, 1600 megabytes per second reads and 1100 megabytes per second writes.
It's well over double.
Thanks to the NVMe interface, available in capacities up to 480 gigs with a 3-year warranty. This is one of many products that Toshiba has based on BICS NAND flash memory.
The TR200 is also a really great option if you're looking for a budget level 2.5-inch drive.
SATA
it's
SSD.
great SATA 3, Rev6 or Rev 3.0.
SATA Rev 3.
SATA Rev 3, 6 gigabit per second.
Gigabit per second.
The alcohol's really doing a number on me.
Yeah.
Those are also great drives. What was the external drive model? I forget that one. That was the...
I know what that is.
It is the... They have an external drive if you're looking for a external USB 3.0 SSD.
XS700, of course, Kyle.
XS700, which we've both committed to memory at this point.
Right here.
Also delivers great speeds, great transfer speeds over USB 3, and
It's
it is
got
Type-C.
a Type-C interface as well.
Yep. You can find links to
USB
all that
3.1
stuff in my description. I just copy-pasted the links from Paul, so Paul, you'll get a kickback if
That's
if
fine,
anyone uses
because
those links.
when we first started this ad
they
campaign,
mine?
I copied and pasted yours, so it's a trade-off.
Pure communism.
Beautiful. All right, thank you,
Let's move
Toshiba, for sponsoring awesome hardware.
Thanks, Toshiba. Toshiba! Moving on to the games report. This article is from Hot Hardware. Thanks, Hot Hardware. About Bethesda. Oh my gosh, Bethesda. Do you know what's going on with Bethesda lately, right?
What? No, what's wrong?
We talked about this, I think, on a previous episode not too long ago. So they had Fallout 76, right? Their launch for Fallout 76 was abysmal. It was absolutely
I was aware of that.
terrible. It was one of the worst launches in video game history.
Especially for a game with an established history.
Absolutely.
With many fans.
From a reputable developer.
Yeah, like it was very surprising. I was very surprised with the I don't have any I never played Fallout 76, but I read lots of feedback from lots of people about it and
it was insane.
It was surprising.
And Bethesda games have always been sort of buggy here and there. People just have learned to accept it. But Fallout 76 was buggy like no other. I mean, it was virtually unplayable for some people in certain parts of the game. There were just random crashes, characters would freeze, just random bugs everywhere. It just made the game so unenjoyable. And it was such a disaster of a launch, and they were releasing massive patches almost on a daily basis to rectify these issues, which were only rectifying some of them. The game was still so broken that so many people requested refunds, and Bethesda only honored a very small portion of refunds. And so people blew their lid, people were pissed off. I don't like this game. It doesn't even work. It's broken. I want a refund. And Bethesda would not honor refunds for so many people. So much to the point where there's actually a law firm who's considering filing a class action lawsuit for, what are they calling it? Deceptive trade practices. That's how broken this game is. And then there was a $200 Fallout 76 Armor Edition that people bought. They bought this Armor Edition for Fallout 76 for $200. Never spend $200 on anything video game related unless it's like a dedicated console or something like that. The Power Armor Edition included the base game itself with a Tricentennial Steelbook. It had a glow-in-the-dark world terrain map, 24 collectible Fallout figurines, a bonus in-game items, a full-scale wearable T-51 Power Armor helmet, which is probably the image that you're seeing right there. Oh, unless it's not being shown. And then a West Tech canvas carrying bag. Now, this Westech canvas carrying bag that was included in the Power Armor Edition for Fallout 76, it looked just as advertised. It looked right there. Like, that's a nice looking bag.
Never mind the Fortnite loading page.
And there are people out there who like collecting swag from their favorite video games or their favorite anime or their favorite pop culture, whatever. And they just like collecting this shit.
It also says canvas right there, canvas.
It says canvas.
That's specified.
And so people were expecting a bag that looked exactly like that because that's the one that they were advertising. Rightfully so. They should be expecting that. But customers, rightfully so, also lost their minds when instead they received not canvas bags, but these nylon carrying bags that look more like trash bags than anything else. They looked so utterly different and just pathetic, quite frankly. I saw some pictures of it. I'm like, no, absolutely no. I don't know if there's no picture of that in the article from what I could tell, but these are totally not the same sexy canvas bags that were advertised within the Fallout 76 Power Armor Edition package. So people lost their effing minds. And Bethesda said that they had to resort to these nylon shitty carrying bags due to unavailability of materials, which is not a great excuse to say the least. And so, what did Bethesda do to make things right? Instead of giving them the bags they wanted,
refunds,
instead even issuing
cash, money back in the hand of the customers who they misled in order to recoup.
Maybe Bethesda. I think Bethesda needs you, Paul, because that was the furthest thing that they did. In fact, what they did was they gave every affected customer of these Power Armor Edition packages 500 atoms. 500 atoms. That's in-game credit for Fallout 76.
Atoms as in like an atom of hydrogen or helium or something like that?
More or less. But 500 atoms in Fallout 76 equates to $5 real dollars in real world money. So for paying a $200 fee for this package where you were going to get this awesome canvas bag, they gave you, you know what, we're sorry, here's $5 of in-game credit. Customers were not happy, to say the least. So now Bethesda has finally owned up to it, and they're now sending out replacement canvas bags to Power Armor Edition owners. Now, customers have to provide proof of purchase, of course. They have to submit a ticket to the support site, to the developer support site by January 1st of 2019, blah-de-blah-de-blah, to receive their bag. Replacements will be sent out as soon as the bags are ready. That could be 1 month from now, that could be 10 months from now, we don't know. But I feel like even though it was the right move eventually for Bethesda to make, it's also a little bit too late. And the damage has already been done between the failure of a launch to the refusal of refunds and to this whole bag debacle. Bethesda has lost the trust of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, I think, with this single launch alone. And it's quite unfortunate. So
to me, like, I think if you want to boil it down to the fundamental issue that people are pissed off about, it's not about like a nylon bag versus a canvas bag. Like that's a detail, that's a nuance there. It's about Bethesda as a company with one of their premier products being the Fallout series and the premier edition of that product being the $200 version of it that people are who with the disposable income and the passion for that game are able to say like, yes, I'm going to drop this much money on it, are getting something that essentially is like a monetized. They're basically like trying to make as much money as possible out of this.
Sure.
They're like
milking it.
They're giving you the cheapest possible product for the most possible price because of your enthusiasm for this game.
Right. They're taking advantage of you.
It's a cheap and terrible way of treating customers. So good that they're replacing them, but like I wish they should just send out replacement canvas bags to anyone who bought them without having to go through any jump through hoops to get them replaced or something like that. But
exactly.
Obviously, that would cost more money.
And they're only doing any of this because the backlash has been so severe.
Yeah.
They're not doing it out of the kindness of their hearts or because they felt it was the right thing to do. They're doing it to save face because they're trying to put out fires right now. They're in full mode. They're in full damage control mode, and they're just trying to save whatever bit of reputation they have left with their consumer base. It's really quite sad.
It's also frustrating because Bethesda, in the past, at least in my memory, has not pulled this type of shit before.
Yeah, right. So it makes me wonder, is that branch under new management?
There's certain developers who you kind of have some level of trust in, like
or ones that you expect this sort of thing
It's not
from.
a direct relation, but like Rockstar, for example.
Yeah.
I have some level of trust in Rockstar.
Sure.
I think they make good products and good games. You can look at Red Dead Redemption. You can look at Grand Theft Auto 5. Does Rockstar monetize their games and try to make money off of them?
Sure.
Yes. Does GTA 5 have a, purchasable system of in-game purchases that you can make for real money that they make lots of profit on? Yes. But did they make some sort of reasonable assessment of that to make sure that you're buying mostly cosmetic items and that there's some level of balance between the grind to get to that cosmetic thing versus just pay for it outright?
Right.
You're trying to find that balance.
Yep.
And it's tricky. It's not an easy thing to do as a game developer, but Bethesda, I think, has lost a lot of trust with this. With what's happened in the past month or so to that. So
I think they know how big they are. They realize the weight that they carry, and they're taking advantage of it to a degree.
Yeah, and they're relying
greedy
on enough people who have played Fallout games in the past who are like, I love Fallout. I've always had fun with it. I'm going to buy this next one too. And yeah, that's what happens when you try to exploit people for as much money as possible, is they start realizing, hey, I'm being exploited for my money, and I'm not getting something valuable in return.
Right.
And that's theoretically how capitalism works.
For the record, it would have been fine if they just gave people the bag that they paid for, that they advertised. There would be no stink. People would see the picture and be like, this is exactly the bag that I paid for. Be no issue. But for you to try to slide one under the gamers, to slide one under your own customer base, just to turn a profit, maybe even more than you already were, is just dishonest and just shows how greedy you guys have gotten in that instance. So hopefully they can turn it around at some point. But let's move on. We have another article here from Windows Central about GameStop being a little bit in trouble here. They reported a $488 million loss last quarter for Q3 of 2018. Holy moly. Now, physical game sales were pretty strong in 2013, but since then they've been slowly taken over by digital downloads, of course, which have taken up a massive slice of the pie.
I was going to say 2013 was 5 years ago.
It was 5 years ago. And, GameStop is slowly dying, it seems. This is a report by Game Rant, and that's who reported this crazy loss of almost $500 million, almost $500 million of loss in just the last quarter alone. Despite having a solid growth from hardware sales and accessories, there's also been a 13.4% decline in pre-owned game sales. So pre-owned games haven't been doing so hot either. I can't even remember the last time I went out to go buy a pre-owned game, to get a great deal on a pre-owned game.
It's also become harder and harder to actually resell a pre-owned game
when they're all digital.
If you're dealing with digital copies that are tied to your Steam account, or just DRM techniques in general that have tried to prevent you from taking a physical copy and passing it on to somebody else who buys it from you.
Yeah, and there are also, I think with digital downloads, when you cut out the overhead cost of physically shipping a product, you're able to give bigger discounts on digital sales, digital purchases. And I feel like that has also sort of competed with the used games market, where it's like, hey, I can buy this game brand new on Steam for 30% off, or I could buy like a used physical game at GameStop for the same price. Obviously you're going to go with the digital one. It's more convenient. It's brand new technically. You don't have to worry about like physical imperfections about the game not working and stuff in your console, whatever, in your PC. So there's it feels like GameStop is slowly going the way of Blockbuster or those like physical video outlets, video rentals. It seems like that's the way that it's going, but who's to say? It'll be interesting to see if GameStop eventually gets sold off to a bigger parent company, if they get acquired or something like that, absorbed into a bigger company. But at the very least, right now, it doesn't seem good for old GameStop. I used to go to GameStop when I was like in high school and stuff, for when I was like gaming on GameCube and PlayStation 2 and stuff. They were great, but now the landscape of gaming has changed so much. I bought an Xbox One and I bought an Xbox One X recently, and I downloaded all of Red Dead Redemption 2 in its entirety within like an hour or something like that. Didn't have to go fight for the last copy at some store, and I was just like, this is the future. This is where we're headed. This is where we're at. And yeah, it just seems like, I don't know, GameStop's going to seriously have to like implement some sort of game streaming service, or I don't know what they're going to have to do to stay competitive.
I'd like to see something in between, because I don't want to see all of the retail locations like GameStop go away. Because I think there is some social aspect to a store like GameStop.
Sure.
People going in there and talking to the people who work there,
right,
about games they like and getting advice, or like, hey, try this out or whatever.
Yeah, it's a meetup place.
Yeah, I think that's beneficial. So I'd hate to see it go away entirely.
Yeah.
But definitely they need to modify their business model if they're going to stay competitive.
Definitely.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, so next up, our last article here is from Polygon about Rockstar. Actually, we were speaking about Rockstar just earlier.
Rockstar!
And this talks about their Red Dead Online. So Red Dead Redemption Online just launched its beta very recently, and for the most part...
The economy's going crazy.
For the most part, it was okay, but the economy was a big talking point, and a lot of people took to Reddit and Twitter and social media, and they were really upset about how the economy was looking so far. Mainly because the payouts of in-game currency for various activities were too low compared to the extreme cost of certain things like weapons, or even like essential needs like your camp upkeep, or your food, maintenance items and things like that. But weapons and upgrades were so expensive.
Have you played online?
I have not played online yet. I haven't had a chance.
You have played single player though, right?
I have played single player, and my God, it's great. Actually, Wifey Sauce has really been enjoying it too. We've been switching off, like I'll play a mission and then she'll watch me, and then she'll play a mission and then I'll watch her, because the cinematics in between are such a great storytelling element that sort of ties all the gameplay together, that it really feels like you're just a part of this immersive story, this narrative, and this movie, that she really enjoys that storytelling aspect of it.
I'm looking forward to playing it. Like, I'm planning to at some point, but I haven't yet. But everything I've heard about like playing through the game has been incredibly positive. So.
Absolutely. And hopefully, banking on that PC port at some point, you'd have to think with the amount of cash that Rockstar's brought in and Take-Two's brought in from making GTA 5 go online, or I'm sorry, go via PC, that they would also bring that same support for Red Dead Redemption 2, and that they would see just tremendous sales and stuff like that from expanding their platforms. But it remains to be seen. So hopefully the economy will be more balanced within with a future update that Rockstar has already planned. That's a great thing about Rockstar also, is that they listen to user feedback very intently. They take a lot of feedback to heart, and they've already issued a statement saying that they're going to be releasing a pair of updates that are going to be rolling out soon that will certainly that'll sort of rebalance the economy, so that you're not going to feel like you're just doing all these missions and activities for pennies. You'll actually be getting paid a generous amount that you'll feel like you've achieved something. You'll be able to buy weapons with it, upgrades, and you'll be able to have a bit more spending power than you originally did in the online beta. So that's really cool, and that is the end of my half of the show.
Whenever there's discussion of video games and in-game economies, I always default back to Diablo 2, which I played long ago.
Right.
And how the economy became based around the Stone of Jordan, which was a unique ring you could get in the game.
Yeah.
But it took a lot of work to build up to the point where you could get a Stone of Jordan, and then you could trade that for other stuff. But anyway, yep, the Soj, the Soj.
That's it, the Soj, good old Soj.
Spam that and spam that in trade chat. All right, so that's all for this half of the show.
That is it. Thank you guys so much for watching, but don't go anywhere.
What's up, bud?
We're gonna do a after party in just a bit. Yeah, be sure to toss a like on this video and feel free to do timestamps in the comments. Whoever does is my precious little angel. It's not creepy at all.
I'm gonna play Fortnite in the after party.
Paul's gonna play Fortnite. You guys want to see what Paul looks like playing Fortnite? It's gonna be
terrible.
Insanely awkward and interesting.
Too bad.
You should be there though. Thank you guys. We'll be right back, and we'll also be doing donation shoutouts and Johnsons and all that.
Yes. So click the link in the description to go to